There are a ton of vehicles in World of Tanks at tier 10 that have the power to do superb amounts of damage, but are they necessarily mediums? Not all of the time. And in today's video we are having a look at one medium tank in particular that can still have ridiculous amounts of damage, as well as having a decent amount of spotting, or at least we had a game where we had an insane amount of spotting. And in this one we're taking a look at the Object 430, one of the three tier 10 medium tanks that branch off from the Object 430-2, which got some changes recently. And of course we managed to grind through and get all three of those tier 10 mediums from that line, being the Object 430, the K91 and the Object 430U. We'll be doing a review of all three vehicles so you can see exactly what each tank is in the next coming days, so stay tuned for that. But first off, we're going to kick it off with a bang with the Object 430. And this tank is a very interesting one because you get the option of using a higher alpha damage gun or using a lower alpha damage gun that gets a faster fire rate. And so, yeah, it's really down to personal preference as to which one you'd rather have. And in my opinion, I'm using the higher alpha damage gun so that we can keep up with some of the heavy tanks at the tier, and the damage boost that you do get, or DPM boost that you get with the kind of lower gun, isn't actually doing anything, and it's not going to actually give you any more DPM other than giving you more penetration and more accuracy, and getting slightly better standard rounds being APCR as opposed to the top gun, which is AP, which gives you that extra bit of normalization, but does suffer in the shell velocity department. But with the setup that we've got, 4,224 damage per minute is what this vehicle has. It also has pretty decent armor for a medium tank, as with pretty much all of the Soviet medium tanks being a lot more armored, or a lot easier to use that armor than something like a Centurion Action X or an FV4202 or something of that ilk, you know, the American mediums, the M48 patterns, etc. This definitely has more armor, even if it does have two cupola weak points that can be penned if people do manage to hit them. But of course that's quite hard when they're quite slim and a smaller profile. But with the armor out of the way, we'll see how to kind of use it. You want to be kind of angling like this to just give you that extra edge, because most people are going to bounce off of this thing if they do come up against it. And you can actually get up close and personal with people because it's quite difficult for them to get the gun depression to aim down onto the upper plate, and they can often only see the turret if you're kind of up against the heavy tank, and you do have to get all kind of up in their grill, so to say. But without further ado, let's have a look at the stats, what we've ran the tank with. So loadout wise, we've gone with advanced loader, we've gone with view range to boost up that view range, and also the accuracy bonuses, since the accuracy of this tank kind of is a little bit annoying, and you'll find out what I mean as we look at the gameplay in just a second. But key thing is that 0.32 accuracy is not awful, but it's not amazing for a medium. You've got 55 kilometers an hour top speed, which is fairly good. I mean, that's pretty decent regardless of what tank you're playing. And also a brilliant amount of view range, 512 meters, which means that you are well over the max view range within the game, and you're basically able to spot most things without getting spotted yourself. Or alternatively, if you do get spotted, you pretty much spot them as well. So it's very, very good. Aim time is kind of lackluster, 2.3 seconds, which sucks, but at the same time, it is a medium tank. It has that higher alpha, and you're not reloading super quick where you don't feel like you're going to be able to fully aim. So not only that, it gets 5 degrees of gun depression, which is okay, but you know, that is a limiting factor of all of these Soviet mediums. You don't find that with the British ones, which get 10 degrees of gun depression and are a lot more flexible on hills, so you have to play these in a certain way. But not only that, I feel like we're just continuing with the not onlys, but this tank just genuinely feels very, very solid, and it feels like you can be that aggressive brawling tank, and that's exactly what we like when we see these Soviet mediums. Maybe not so much with the T62A and the Object 140, as you don't have that alpha, but this certainly does. Not quite as much as its big brother, the Object 430U, which has the 440 alpha, but that doesn't have quite the same damage per minute. So I would definitely rather play the 430 with its DPM right now, and it's very, very, very powerful in that department. But Of course, I feel like we want to just jump it straight into a game. You're going to see exactly what I mean with this tank. We've got one good damage gameplay and a combined damage gameplay, and then one that showcases the spotting potential of this vehicle if you get it in the right sort of spots, and how you can use spotting damage to improve your own gameplay too. So the first gameplay that we do have starts off a little late, since I was obviously having a drink or something at the beginning of this game, and instead we start off basically half a minute in. But instantly, it is Redshire, one of my favourite maps in the game. Probably not the best map for the 430, but we still make it work, and this is what this tank can do. Even in the maps that aren't necessarily the most favourable for your vehicle, you can have some really good games. Now, we come up here for the initial, hopefully get a free shot of damage on someone that's crossing up where that TVP was. Unfortunately, we don't manage to actually do that, but not a problem. It's now time to be a little bit more aggressive in this game and get forward and try and get a little bit of damage up against some of the opponents that are in the field. You can see there's a heavy tank over there, which maybe we can get some damage on, but straight away I'm going to push right over and get into this sort of position. Hopefully we can get a free shot into this J Panther who's in the center, who we indeed mainly only get 4 damage on because he got absolutely steam hammed by our vehicle on our team, but we do manage to get 500 assistance, so I guess we can take it, and of course we managed to take him out. Now, artillery's looking at us, of course it is, you know how it is. If you saw the Britannia Panther yesterday, then you know exactly my feelings towards artillery right now, especially low tier artillery. They're just kind of disgusting with how accurate they are. But the T-5040 in the field, we've got a Leopard 1 here, or a Leopard PTA here with us, who's got getting us a little bit of support. Hopefully he'll be able to give us some assistance damage. Go for the blind fire, as you should always do in World of Tanks. If you see that there is a tank that has suddenly disappeared, they're probably still in the same position, so you might as well go for the shot, unless of course someone's about to YOLO you, or you think that you're going to get another shot on someone. Then always try and go for the blind fires, or unless of course you're running out of ammo, which is something you probably would not want to fire if a blind vehicle. But either way, hopefully in this game we can start racking up a bit of damage. You can see here the little pesky, horrible, like toxic vehicle, the Centurion AVRE, has caught us out, and of course we managed to get hit by not the AVRE but actually someone else on the side. So straight away I'm thinking, don't really want to sit here against a tank that can dirt me for 500 damage every time, and so we pull back. We find ourselves a little pesky T-5040 who we managed to track and damage. Brilliant. That's exactly what you want to be doing with these sorts of vehicles, and we're just ploughing those rounds into that track and keeping him locked down. And that's why I've been able to pick up, what, 2,800 combined damage so far, and there's still loads of vehicles left. So this is a really nice sort of plays here. You can see the FE 4005 is kind of over the ridge. We don't get enough kind of height to look down over that ridge onto the top of that vehicle, even with its gigantic turret. But we want to be a little bit careful. We don't want to get caught out by an FE in the backside. You know, that always ends up pretty badly. But instead, we're coming up to here. Hopefully, we can remain undetected and get a few free shots into the Centurion, or the Chieftain even. And of course, there we go. The Hollandhund deciding he's going to YOLO in after our light tank. And of course, doesn't end up very well. But no worries, because with the DPM of this tank we can unload on the people that are poking our light tank and deal some damage to him. We're trying to go for that AVRE Cupola, which is non-existent, and yeah, I don't manage to hit it. Surprise, surprise. But still a very good game so far. What, like nearly 4,000 combined at this point, and looking to get just one more shell to make it over 4,000 combined. But of course, yay, we don't manage to actually hit the lower plate of the Chieftain, but we do with that shell. Now, when you've got this tank, one thing that I will kind of tell you about is that the tank does not particularly have the best AP round penetration. It has pretty lackluster AP pen, which means that you do have to fire some premium sometimes because of the fact that the AP has about 240, I believe it is, or 246 to be exact. And of course with the APCR you end up with 311 pen, which is much better, and you're able to basically pen every single heavy in the front if you hit their weak points with 311. 240 maybe not so much, but that's why we're using it, and hopefully we can get some more damage in this game. And you can see here, once again, just making sure that, you know, we're somewhat near the front so we can get assistance whilst also being able to get the actual damage at the same time. So yeah, it's just basically a combination of getting solid armor, solid damage per minute, and solid assistance with the 430 compared to that of some of the other mediums, which just purely focus on one aspect, being either DPM or mobility, or, you know, just being able to spot things, whereas this tank kind of gets it all. And that's why I think after the recent buffs that happened, I'd say recent, but somewhat recent buffs that the 430 got a while back, this tank is very, very strong in today's meta, and I think it is very, very nice to play. And I really did enjoy playing both this and the 430U recently. Of course, the 430U being slightly more difficult to get as much damage in the short periods of time because of the fact it has a lot worse DPM than this one, being nearly 30% worse. But at the same time, that tank really does get armor compared to this one, so still very, very powerful. But we managed to block a shot there, talking about armor, of course. But of course, the good thing about this is that it does have that really angled armor, as we show, and that allows you to kind of bounce those rounds that come in from long ranges. People that can't hit the lower plate or they can't hit your cupola, you can bounce a few rounds, and that's exactly what we want. Now, what I don't want is to be capped out by the enemy team, so I'm making my way over towards the enemy tanks in the cap. We fire on the move, or at least slow down a little bit so that we aren't bloomed fully out when we're coming over here to shoot the chieftain in the top of the turret, which is of course an easy pen since he was kind of angled his turret, or top of the turret, towards us, which is nice. And that allows us to pick up the damage as well as get a little bit of assistance damage too on some of the vehicles over here. Now, having done 7,400 combined damage, it's always nice to find a Foch on the enemy team, still alive and on a decent chunk of hit points. So we go straight into him, and this is where we kind of try and go in. He manages to bounce off of us. We put one into the cupola, and there you go. Easy as you like. Nothing really to worry about there with the Foch. And even if he had been able to unload his full clip, he's not going to be able to take us out from the amount of hit points we had left. So regardless, we managed to pick up over 5,000 and 3,400 assistance. Always good. And managed to block 320. We don't manage to get any more on the GW Tiger, even though I was hoping to, because the Waffly 100 with its big old boy manages to take him out. But we still come top of the game with 5,179 damage, 5 enemies taken out, and a decent chunk of base experience, 1,500 and 3,411 assistance damage too. So really good game there. But talking about assistance damage, let's hop over into the next game. And oh lord, the next game is on a different level with that assistance damage. And that's because we did kind of everything that you need to do when you are going to try and get assistance. And in games where you feel like you're kind of on the back foot, or you're not able to get very many actual damaging shots, or you're feeling like your team aren't pushing, or you feel like your team should be moving or doing something, you can make them move by just highlighting vehicles for them, which is what we did in this game. And what gave us so much assistance. And if you were going for marks of excellence, this would be what you want to do, how you want to play your vehicles, or at least an indication as to how you can play your vehicles. Now, we come into this spot here so that I could get some free shots on anyone that pokes over here. And you can also spot people that cross up to the hill, which we might see, which is the E100 over there. And that is exactly what we want to do. We want to spot the people who push in, and that will give you a lot of assistance damage if they do get tracked over there or they get spotted over there. And luckily, by the looks of it, something with a massive gun just hit him to give us an extra bit of assistance. So straight away 1,900, and that's what taking early positions and knowing the maps is going to give you. So this spot, really nice, but remember, if you get spotted or there's an enemy light tank that's over here, you want to make sure that you do have the reverse speed to pull back down that hill so that you don't get taken out yourself, because you are exposed, you're on the top of a hill. You don't want to just go there and sit there indefinitely, because you will get taken out quite quickly. Now we do the exact same over here. We come up to this position. It's a nice kind of progressive kind of movement on this flank to come to this position. You can use the rocks to our left to actually hide from a lot of the tanks on the enemy team. You can't get hit from that hill area from here, so it's a super safe spot when you do manage to get here. Getting here is mainly the problem when it comes to this position, but luckily in this game not really a lot to stop us from getting here. So instead we now realise that there's not a lot of vehicles on this flank, so it's time to push up. We're going after the T58 Heavy, of course the new vehicle that you can see the full tank review. I know, shameless plug on the channel if you're interested in finding out about that vehicle, which has this weird turret armor, and this was definitely one of the first days of it being out and about where I was trying to get the cheeks of the tank and I was hoping that we'd be able to pen the top of it, but alas not capable of doing that, and we actually miss out on a little bit of damage, which just sucks. And of course we could have got damage if we'd been a little bit more versed in how the armor model actually works on that tank, or at least it would have been easier if Wargaming made a live visual model of the armor, since although it says you can pen the top of the turret, it's very difficult unless you hit the cupola exactly, or you have a tank destroyer with super high penetration. But either way, so far we've picked up 3,227 assistance, which is amazing. And oh look, we've spotted a little T58 Heavy who's out in the middle of nowhere, and we managed to not only get some assistance on him, but we get more assistance on him, and it's just racking up as we move through this game. 4,300. I was starting to think, oh my lord, I'm going to end up with one of these ridiculous assistance games, and it went even further than that as we move through, because we're ending up spotting the tanks that are over in this location, the T32 and the Conqueror. We've got a WZ-111 Quillin, and we've also managed to find some other vehicles, and oh look, we are definitely within their view range and we're able to spot them and spot for our team the Leopard 1 over here, managing to be out in the open. And now it's time for us to fully go in. I was like, well, the game is starting to end, our team is steamrolling, so might as well be the one that's spotting for the team. And oh look, even more assistance. Oh dear, it's like an assistance fest, and that's what that 512 meters view range can do. Now for some reason the WZ on their team is literally sat here, no idea what he was trying to do, but instead we're going for the tracking shot. More assistance, give me all of it. And that picks us over 8,000 assistance and only 1,000 actual damage. So yeah, a little bit annoying, but still been able to pick up a lot of assistance, so I was happy with how it was going. And having picked up 9,000 assistance now, I'm thinking, oh my word, can it be the 10k assistance game that I've been hoping for? And that really comes down to whether our team can hit these before they all move up. Because of course the more tanks that are up here, the less assistance you'll get. And oh look, a Gorilla 15 was sat in the back in the bush. There's a surprise, and he manages to hit us, but the armor model holding up and we're able to bounce one round, and then he decides to poke backwards. We deal a shot of damage on him, get a little bit more assistance from someone at the back, but as you're seeing, we're getting basically nothing from spotting these guys since there's so many tanks around. And with only 3 more vehicles left alive, the Conqueror, the heavy tank, etc., all pushing in, then, you know, hopefully we can deal the damage against the rest of them. And oh look, it's a surprise, the FE4005 at the back of the map jumped into their base and literally did nothing in that game. And there's a surprise that, you know, you do all of that and someone decides to cap on like probably like a 10-0 sort of game. So yeah, have no idea why people do that. You end up with less XP, but yeah, it's nice to see that, you know, halfway down the list and not wanting any more damage, the FE4005 decides to cap. But still a fantastic game, 11,000 combined damage in that one with the 9,214 assistance. Hopefully it's giving you an indication as to both the damage potential of this vehicle as well as the combined potential that this tank has, which is something that makes it far beyond some of the vehicles in the game, and definitely a powerful vehicle at tier 10. And we'll see how it stacks up in the 430U in a video coming soon, so stay tuned and subscribe if you aren't already, and we'll make our way towards that 16,000 subscriber mark. Thank you very much for 15,000, and I hope you join me in the next video, and I hope you have a fantastic rest of the day if you don't. Goodbye.